essentially we may recognize that the path is really what is present here. The path is a certain obscurity of the natural self, a certain obscurity that veils the natural self. I usually give the example of the sun and the solar eclipse. So even though there is a full solar eclipse, you can still see a little bit of the sun rays around the solar eclipse. So if the moon is covering the sun, it's not covering it 100% because still the sun shines through the boundaries of the moon. It shines through. So the same way, the obscurity of the natural self is the conditions, it's the mental structures, it is identifications, it's certain world view, a certain view, a partial view of reality, a certain fragmentation, we can say. So in the simplistic way, I could say that these are the clouds, and the natural self is the sun, and there are the clouds which are veiling the presence of the sun. The sun is present always here now. So regardless of the clouds, regardless of the solar eclipse, which is the moon or other planetary bodies covering the sun is still there. And the same way, it is your natural self, which is your conscious awareness, boundless awareness, it is already here. So your conscious boundless awareness is already actually illuminating all of this experience. Even if you're looking through what I call the lighthouse of your focus and attention, as most of you are looking through your focus, yeah, you have a certain radius, a certain view angle, a view perception of the present moment, and that is a lighthouse of your focus and attention. We know that it is within your center of your forehead. That's where your attention is usually focused. However, if you meditate, you can shift your point of the lighthouse into other areas, like from the heart, to see things through the heart, which is a very beautiful way of seeing things. However, even if one is seeing things through the heart, there is still a lighthouse, a certain limitation, we can say. And thus, coming back to the full consciousness is actually dropping that which is limiting the attention and focus. Dropping that which is limiting your attention and focus. Dropping that which is entangled with your attention and focus. So that which is entangled is what creates this apparent distance. Yeah, there is an apparent distance through your focus and attention. And for those of you who are very new and you know, into spirituality and especially into my teachings, I can say, if we can call these teachings, it's more of inquiry into reality. So if we truly inquire that at some point in your life, for all of you, you were only focused externally. Yeah, so you were this human being, the average human being, and you were just completely focused objectively. Yes, you were just focused only on the outside reality. So there was a very solid and fixed sensation that this is outside and this is me. It's a very solid separation that these two things are very different. The outside reality and me, myself. So this has been the experience for all of you some time ago, some years ago, depending, of course, on your journey, that there was a very apparent separation between outside, and these are other people, these are other things, and this is me, and we are totally different. And now, as we are going back so much, you will notice that that has softened to a great degree. For most of you, you will, if you just gently inquire into yourself, you will notice that this distinction, that this is totally outside and this is only inside, this distinction has softened. It's kind of started to blur. Yes, it started to blur, it started to dissolve. That these rigid boundaries of the outside and inside have started to dissolve and to merge, and it became more of an energetic, we can say, feeling. For those of you who have experienced oneness, it's a very lovely feeling that, you know, the energy just merges and these boundaries kind of merge into this flow, so to speak, of the present moment experience. So the oneness consciousness is we may say that your inner focus has came not only from inside but outside of experience, and it has merged that limitation, that the wave, we can say, has merged to a certain degree into the ocean, and this oneness of energy is being experienced. But of course, when experience goes away, you come back to yourself, and the whole spirituality is about realizing that outside will not provide you the real happiness and peace that you seek, and therefore the common spirituality says that you will find your that which you seek, which is happiness, peace, and love, and so on. You will find it inside. So now everybody packs their bags from the outside search and starts to pack their bags to go on the inner journey. Yeah, it's your journey shifts, we can say. And of course, you save a lot of time because you don't need to go anywhere externally. You just need to go internally. So you start to sit down and to recognize that you might find that happiness and peace right where you are. So then people in spirituality, they embark on the inner journey, Now, the inner journey is even a bigger one, and one can be lost equally on the inner journey as one is on the outer journey of seeking for happiness and peace. Because on the outer journey, a person, you know, would maybe go on a retreat and go to the nature and spend some time maybe camping or just some time alone, and they would find, you know, this kind of peace and contentment. And the spiritual journey is nowhere near as easy, because as you focus exclusively on the inner stuff, such as your own thoughts, emotions, energies, and infinite amounts of possible visions and inner experiences. And for some people, it's very natural to have these inner visual and experiences. For other people, it's more of a feeling thing. and we can say everybody just essentially focuses within. And the inner journey is still a journey, by the way. It's still a projected distance. So where do I find this home? Where do I find myself? And some people go inside so much that they start believing that they don't belong here, that if I have experience maybe being on another, like in my meditations in 5D on Pleiades or somewhere else, and then they just don't want to be present. Yeah, they start to deny the presence of life, deny the presence of God, deny the presence of creation, universe, consciousness, and most importantly, denying the presence of themselves. So on the inner journey, it is actually even a much bigger journey than traveling outside, to other countries and places. On the inner journey, there is a whole universe. And for some people, the distance can become even bigger. Yeah, the distance can become even bigger. And it's very common for people in inner love consciousness to really try to avoid the present. Yeah, because they know how to access this loving place, and they just want to go there all the time and to avoid the presence at all costs. But the presence never fails. The present is always present. It's always here. And therefore one needs to start to include the present moment in their meditative experiences. So meditative experiences can be truly at the infinite multitude. And the present moment always invites to include the present moment, because these experiences happen in the present moment. So therefore one needs to, again, to relax their attention and focus, even from the very strong inner fixations, very strong inner projections and seeking. So it's a very big challenge for some people to just simply relax their focus and attention and not even seek for any particular inner experiences. Yeah, so even seeking for the inner experiences is also a distance. And if a person starts to really get addicted to the spiritual experiences, one becomes a typical seeker, we may say. They change their whole house. Now they listen to specific music, Deva Premal, and suddenly there's a yoga mat and nobody can enter the space and this and that. So they transform their whole environment and their inner environment, and now they become a typical seeker, and they have a goal, like to get there, to get this enlightenment at any cost, and it becomes just another object of seeking, isn't it? Maybe before it was happiness and peace, or finances, and now it's enlightenment. And for some people it's equally it's an equal mind game, we can say. Not for everyone, of course, but for some. I'm speaking about more extreme cases. So you need to drop that too. You need to slow down on that search and seeking and wanting and having, needing, because your attention and focus can be equally trapped on the inner seeking, And therefore, the only way really is to relax, to soften attention and focus, and to start returning the attention and focus to its origin, to its origin. So if one is wise, we may say, that one will realize that if my attention and focus is seeking for something, what's the origin of the search? Isn't it that the origin itself is the goal itself? It's home, that one from home goes into the search for home. And you see a paradox there. From home, one goes into the search for home. So to find home is not to search, it's to go back into the origin of the search. So that's where one relaxes and softens the attention and focus, and it starts to drop, it starts to further dissolve these boundaries of the distance, the boundary of otherness. So those of you who are at more advanced level of consciousness and you're quite aware of the mechanics of your attention and focus, I invite you to reflect on the boundaries of otherness. Because even in non-duality, or even in higher levels of consciousness, the otherness is still present in some form or shape or concept or idea, that there is otherness, that something is not myself. So there's a certain avoidance, there is a certain denial. So what creates the sense of otherness? And the sense of otherness is the sense of separation. And the sense of otherness and separation, when it's very fixed, it's ego. Because now there is two things, myself and something else, and they're very fixed, and that's the ego fixation. So I invite everyone to just gently inquire, what is my sense of otherness? And how does the otherness arise? How does the sense of otherness arise? It arises only because one is avoiding something or denying something. That no, it can't be this way, no, it should not be this way, or no, I don't want it this way, or avoiding in a way that I don't want to feel that, I don't want to be here, I don't want to see that, I don't want to feel what is within myself. I don't want to experience the nakedness of the present moment. I prefer to be in my own little cozy corner where I know everything, where everything is perfect, and I don't want to step into the unknown and to not know what's going on or who I am, or it feels too alien and so on, too different, too too much other way than what is natural to me. Yeah, one would also say that, well, I'm this way and other people are that way, and I just don't want to interact or feel because it's not natural to me, and that's the conditional language. Yes, I'm just kind of bringing up certain patterns of avoidances. And these patterns of avoidances and denial actually keeps the otherness, the separation. It creates that distance. And essentially, that distance veils your natural self. It veils your own boundlessness, your boundless awareness, because the otherness is a certain fixation. The avoidance or denial is a certain fixation. So on the journey of seeking, one would want to experience something lovely, but then one would want to avoid something difficult. So however, now coming to the topic of karma and clearing, one has to be aware of what is present in oneself. Not only the outer movement of seeking, but also the opposite movement of avoidance, or we can say resistance. Yeah, the avoidance, resistance, and denial. Yeah, so on one end you want something, on the other one you don't want something, and you're caught up in the middle. And that's the case for nearly everyone on this earth. I want this, I don't want that, and I'm caught up in the middle. What should I do? And the mind doesn't know what to do. And everything gets confusing. And many doubts arise. Is it right? Is it wrong? Should I do this? Should I not? So one tries to figure it out, but forget about it. It's not about trying to figure it out. It's about feeling. It's about feeling the feeling. And even more so, I would say, I do want to emphasize, it's not about understanding, it's about feeling, the present feeling. Please hear me, all of you. It's about feeling the present feeling, whatever it is. Yes, it's not about understanding. That will give you nothing much. It's about feeling the present feeling. And even more so, it is being present with the present feeling. You not only feel the present feeling, which I know many speak of, but it's about being present with the present feeling. And that's how you work it out. That's how you work it out. By feeling the present feeling, no matter how difficult it is, and being present with the present feeling. And that's how you work it out, your conditional patterns. So karma is essentially repeating patterns, repeating situations, repeating circumstances, and generally speaking, repeating patterns. So if something is continuously repeating in one way or another, it includes what is called karma, or I will speak even more clearly, the natural law of balance. Yeah, the natural law of balance. So if something is repeating as a cycle in your life, as a challenging cycle, there's a natural law of balance that's trying, the universe is trying to bring you back into balance. Actually, the universe and God or yourself, the big self, it wants to bring you into balance. You never thought like this before, probably, that your natural self wants to bring you in itself. And here you go, you were always thinking, I need to get to the natural self. But it's actually the grace of your natural self, the grace of God or consciousness wants to bring you back into itself. Yeah, that's the reality of it. That the ego has no power in itself. Yeah, you may need some cooperative effort. Yeah, but the real power is that God or the self is trying to bring you back into balance, into itself. So that's a natural grace. And it's functioning already for everyone. This natural grace is here now for all of you. That your natural grace, divine grace, or God, your own beloved self is trying to bring you into itself, into the balance. And this is why it's telling that there is this stick in the wheel, there's this emotion that you're trying to avoid. There is something that you have fixed in your head of what should not be. And there is something that you're constantly resisting. And if you just, face it and deal with it and work through it, you will be more liberated. You will go beyond it. So it is actually through this power of grace that one receives the inner invitation for awakening. It is through the power of grace that one receives the inner invitation for awakening. And therefore you need to realize that it is your own dear self, that your big self, your big you, which is trying to liberate you, trying to decondition the mind, trying to help you to sort out those feelings, those emotions, those things that you want to avoid and to escape and so on. So this divine grace is functioning real time and it's constant. Now, the experience of this grace is of course depends on your degree of openness. Because if a person is absolutely absorbed into the outer objective, mentally constricted experience, worldview, and so they're focused totally, objectively, they might be continuously ignoring the grace. Yeah, but of course, all of you are more advanced and you may experience it from time to time already. And now I'm saying that this grace is working all the time in your favor. And even if something repeatedly comes up, we may say karmically comes up, it's good. It's actually good. It's actually okay. It's actually, there is a purpose for it. Well, deal with it. Face the challenge and just work on it. Yeah, so if and you will know that, oh my God, I'm again in this kind of situation, and that's good. Like grace invites you to it. It means you need to work on it a little bit. So whatever one would experience, you need to trust that it's always for your best good. And this is how I met every challenge in my life. I'm speaking through my own experience. That whatever life would throw at me, I always knew that there is a reason for it. I need to work through it. I need to go through this. And I knew that the universal law of vibration, of the vortex of vibration, that when I work through it, when I deal with it, I'm going to rise up to a little bit higher level of experience, or to the next level of experience. And I had these confirmations all the time, and these cycles of experiences. So no matter what happens, it's always for your best good. It's always for your best good. It's an invitation. It's an invitation from God, from your own self, to to balance it so that you can come back to your natural self, to your natural self. And maybe one little disclaimer, I can say that, you know, when it comes to certain unexpected things, maybe health or this or that, well, maybe something was ignored for a while. You know, maybe you were so focused spiritually that you forgot your physical body to take care of it. And then certain disease comes up. You know, there's always a certain reason, we can say. And no matter what happens, you know, no matter what happens, it's a universal law of balance. It's a continuous invitation into balance, and to work through that particular experience for one or another reason. So since your own God self is inviting you constantly to return to your own natural liberated state, we can only observe the patterns. We can only learn the natural laws, and we can never ever judge any being, because everyone is going through a unique journey. Everyone always has a unique experience. Even if for a moment you meet in the same present moment, this person, the other person, he or she still has their own unique experience. And you have your own unique experience. So you wouldn't know their whole life, even if it's your wife and your husband, you still know only a little fraction. Even if you think you know, you don't know. You don't know their soul. You don't know their past lives. You don't know what they were feeling, what they were thinking, what they were experiencing in their whole life. You only know what you know, and that's so limiting. It is just a little tiny fraction of what you know about anything, about anyone. So drop your ideas about anyone else. And judgment is one of the biggest walls. It's one of the biggest separations that keeps the otherness, So judgment is essentially ignorance. And that's what Buddha meant, that one of the key obstacles to awakening is ignorance, and judgment is a very large form of the ignorance. Yeah, so therefore you should realize that every single being is on their journey to the self, and every single being is experiencing the present moment uniquely. And therefore we should only approach everything with love. So judgment is one of the big parts of the ignorance. And we should approach with openness, with love, with humility and humbleness, and maybe a mutual understanding, we can say, on a certain vibration. So because we only share this moment exactly the way it is, you never really know anything more than this moment. You never really know the whole past of anyone. You never really know anyone else completely, we can say. And you only know anyone else only in this moment as it is. Yeah, so that is the invitation. So let's summarize that the grace, the divine grace, is constantly inviting you into balance. And this is why it brings up these conditional experiences, cycles. It's an invitation to balance. And how to deal with conditional cycles is to feel the feelings and to be present with what you feel. So if you're feeling resistance, well, allow it, allow the resistance. Don't resist the resistance. It never works out. Allow the resistance, allow that which you feel, and then be present with that which you feel. And how to be present, we have previous meetings, previous recordings, videos. You can check them on YouTube channel. So so that's how you work it out. And another form of grace is we can say a meeting with the one who has worked through through their own conditioning, through their own cycles, because that person or being, the awakened being, he or she has a certain openness, a certain energy field of unconditionality, a certain presence of a natural transmission, we can say. So meeting someone who has worked through the cycles of conditioning is a big gift, because even in a simple, ordinary way of meeting, now, of course, we're having what's called the satsang, inquiry into the truth. It's a special meeting, but even if we would meet just for a little cup of tea or just for a casual conversation, so to speak, no matter what the activity of the meeting would be, yeah, there's still a certain transmission, we can say, a natural transmission of naturalness, which seeps into you, and then you start to recognize that there's something we can say special about this person, or there's something, that you may recognize, as a homeness, as naturalness, as lovingness, and then you say, oh, I like this person, but actually you have resonated to experience the homeness or presence or lovingness, and you have experienced that because it's within you too. It's because that lovely feeling is within you too. It's there. So it becomes as a natural revelation or amplification. And even more so, as even bigger gift of grace is what is called a transmission. And that is an intentional transmission, we can say, what I call a full consciousness transmission. And that is a special, we can say, assistance or intervention, divine intervention, or a special assistance to alleviate the challenges, to alleviate the difficulty of overcoming your conditions and challenges. So it's a certain assistance, a full consciousness transmission, because it in one way it speeds up your deconditioning. It supports recognition and reopening of that which is natural to you, and essentially it clears the path. it speeds up and it clears the path to your own natural self, to your own liberated self. So a full consciousness transmission is a grace. It's an assistance. It's we can say it's a divine tool to assist others on their journey to awaken and then be liberated easier and then quicker.